Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. Happy to have you here as we start a new year, just a few weeks away. And with that comes from a lot of us wanting to make change, resolving to make change, a resolution. Many of us struggle with making that change, but there is a process that goes along with it. And we're going to learn about that today. She's an amazing psychologist, and she's written some great books, including this one, Love Yourself, Love Your Life. And this actually comes from the book in one of the very first chapters, because before you can do any of this other stuff within the book, and it's all very important things that we need to do to make our lives the best they can be, you got to be ready for the change. How do we do that? Right. Dr. Ann Creekmore is back with us. How are you?
Good. Great. How are you, Steve?
Very well. Very well. The process of change, there is a process, and it starts with three main things. They all start with the letter A. Can we start with those?
Sure. The first one is awareness. Just being aware of what the problems are. That could, sometimes people don't really know what the problems are. They're at work and they're overwhelmed. They get on short-term disability. This happens sometimes, because they're just crying and major depression and panic disorders and so on. And they've got to, they go into therapy and figure out, well, why am I, what is going on? And to get that insight. And I'm thinking of someone in particular who was realized that she had a whiteboard up with her 5 children and all their activities and everything. And she looked at the whiteboard. She had the time to stop and look and say, you know what? I'm not up there. They have all these sports that they go to and these different activities, and there's nothing on there for me. So that was an insight and awareness, like she was not taking self-care, taking care of herself, mind, body, spirit, or doing anything for herself. That was kind of an awareness. She had an insight that hit her. So that's the first step. The second step is acceptance. So, in other words, you don't use a defense mechanism. Until then, maybe you've used a defense mechanism that has blocked your insight as to what's going on. And you have to accept it. And give the example of somebody who has a substance abuse problem. Maybe that is what you have to have insight in. And then you actually have to accept it before you're going to do anything. And I like to give this kind of little parked car example. It's like, say you're parked out on this street, but you don't admit that you're on that street, but you want to get to this destination. Well, if you don't even say where you are, except you're on that street, you're not going to ever get to the destination you want to go to. So that's the whole thing. You've got to, acceptance of what the problems are is the second step. And if you don't do that step, if you're in denial or you're just projecting blame onto someone else, you're just suppressing it, blocking it out, or numbing it out with the substance, not feeling your feelings, you're not going to ever even go in the right, the right direction. You're going to say, I'm over here, and you're not. And then the final step, of course, would be action. Like, what would be the things to remedy it? What resources do I need? What do our actions? A is for action, the third step. And so you can start to problem solve and see, well, what will make this better? And then you do the actions.
So I like to think, I'm not a deep thinker, I don't overthink, but when you say awareness and we say problem, and you want to make change, is there always a problem involved? And I'm trying to think of different scenarios. Somebody's wanting to make a change. Does it start with a problem? Well,
you don't have to call it a problem. We don't want to be negative thinkers. Problem, we're either having fun or we're learning something. So it's like an opportunity to learn. It's just an opportunity to grow and enhance your life more. So when I say become aware of the problem or the issue, it's really more like, well, what do I need to learn now? And if I learn this and I move in that direction and I do something about it, then my life is even going to be more fun.
All right. So, if we don't call it a problem, and there can be certainly problems, like For example,
challenges or
somebody needs to make more money and, it's not supporting their life now. Maybe we can call that a problem and or a challenge, like to use that word instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that creates the awareness. To your point, you have a great quote here about making it a positive situation.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it goes like this: the true measure of a man's mental health and happiness is his ability to see the good everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the perfect thing for life. True connection to life.
It's interesting when you look at it because, and I can relate to it. Like example, when it came to doing blood tests, I'd be like, I want to go. I don't want the needle in my arm. Blah. And I would put it off. I would make the appointment, then I would change it, then I would make it, then I would change it. I would think about it. I'd have to get myself ready for it. And I got to a point where I took that negativity, and wherever that's coming from, I probably in my subconscious, I turned it into a positive where I'm happy to go now. It takes 20 seconds, maybe, usually 15. It doesn't really hurt. It's just like and done. But I flipped it around to think that, this is a positive. I'm doing something for me to get information that's going to make me better. Learn. You say the word learn. I'm going to learn things that I can do to make myself better. Maybe there's going to be a little issue. And I'll deal with it. Maybe it's going to be, hey, everything's fantastic. And there was, recently, I've had 3 blood tests in the last 4 weeks. And they thought they detected something. And then they said, no, we're wrong. But, I'd be in the office and they'd be like, yeah, well, we got to do labs again. Are you okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. If that was, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd be like, here you go. Just use this arm. I like this arm better. That's all. But it's learning and looking at the positive.
Absolutely. That every experience coming to you is either just fun right then, or it's leading you. It might look by appearance bad, but it's really leading right to your good. It might be something just slowing you down so that you can center and focus on what's good in front of you. I mean, it's all for your good. You deserve good things, and you see it all as good. And then you embrace it. You accept it. It's like saying, no, I'm not sitting in that car and that, in this street, having a fit that you're not there. Well, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to just accept what is happening in the present, and then see it as, I've got my car. I'm going to be heading over there now. I can head to my destination. I'm on my path for good.
As we're talking about this, I'm thinking about even the blood test scenario, right?
Yes.
And the amount of energy that I expended worrying about it was a lot. That was a lot. Added stress, anxiety, thinking about it. And now, nothing. I was wasting a lot of my resources that I could be pivoting someplace else on that. And I'm not minimizing anybody's, fears or whatever. We all got them, right? But when you look at the difference of you worry about these things and what you're giving of yourself in the worry, whoa! Once you realize these things. Now we're talking about the process of change. What are some of the other things involved in the process?
Well, I mean, you can, and I just like to, follow up what you're saying. That I think that's beautiful to just realize in the moment you are fine and you're good, and this is leading to your good, and catch the negative thoughts. So part of the change is to not go to the negative thinking as the main thing that causes the problems. It's not something external that's causing the problem. It's your thoughts, your self-talk, what you're saying about the situation that's distorting it, and it's robbing it of its good at the moment. It's kind of like, say you walk in, it's like adding darkness, to a situation. Say if you walk into a room that's all dark, you can't really see in that room, and all you see is dark. You're not seeing. And then if you try to manipulate something in the room, break it up or create it or do what you need, you can't see. So your first step in change is to catch the negative thought, put in the positive affirmation, manifestation. Some call it law of attraction, but you just put the positive spin and say, help me see this differently. I want to connect to my good and help me see it differently. Help me just know, release the fear, move into the love and see what good is happening right now. Even though it might feel uncomfortable, it's actually there for your good. And if you can shine the light on it, think of it positively, then you're going to create a good at the moment. You see it, and then you can move into your good. And that's the main, first step.
Everybody's different. So I'm not going to say this is easy, but it just seems like the proverbial snowball down the hill that turns into this big boulder. Once you start rolling with this mindset, the blood test fear turns into something else that you conquer because you already did that. Then that leads to something else, then to something else, then to something else. Like it just keeps rolling down the hill. And then you have this big boulder, which is, a fabulous moment of, you've created something, and that is a mindset that helps you move your life forward. There's something in your book called defense mechanisms that's connected with the process of change. What is that?
Right. Defense mechanisms are emotional defenses or coping strategies that help us not feel the pain or not realize our own selves in a way. They're blocking us from reality because that we're putting our energy into blocking our pain. And actually, I find it a good exercise. It's in the book. What is it on page 18 in the book, where it cites the different defense mechanisms. And it's a good little exercise to kind of read them and kind of go through it and see, does this sound like me? Because that's also part of the awareness step. Like, how are you kind of blocking your good from just keeping yourself in a certain situation that would have been appropriate maybe when it started, but it's it's a maladaptive learning that you are still doing, and it's not even appropriate to the situation, and it's not being with the present so that you can just shine and see the good. You're attaching too much to the situation so you're not really seeing it in the light. You're just working against pain, trying to keep old past pain down. But we could kind of look at some of these if you want to and go over a few of them and see, because people can use this and you kind of say, so which one do I do? Which one do I do? Like, for example, denial, DENIAL. Don't, and it kind of stands for don't even know I am lying. It's kind of like you're not seeing the nose on your face, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to share that. I share. I'm in a group, and I share things, just spiritual, positive stuff.
Right.
That's a good one.
Exactly. And of course, other people can see that, that it differently, but it's like you can't see it. And so, but maybe, and that can happen a lot with substance abuse, where the person doesn't really realize their problems might relate to how much they're drinking or doing drugs. That's denial. There's identification with a lost object, which is incorporating the aspect of someone who you have lost into your own kind of personality. Like you're doing things because it makes you feel close to that person. And it could be positive or negative. When one of my aunts died, I know she had a lot of red clothes and I haired a bit. And then I really got into wearing red, and that's fine. And it felt good, and she was that. But I know another person, for example, that his father passed and he smoked cigarettes. And this man in his 20s, when his father died, never smoked. But his fondest memories were sitting with his dad. When we have a quiet moment, his dad be sitting there on the steps, he's sitting and he's smoking. So he started smoking cigarettes.
Wow.
And so I didn't really understand. It was part of his grief process that was helping him still feel close to his dad. And we experienced that.
Wow. That is powerful.
It is. Yes. Yes. And so it's an unconscious process.
I have to tell you, you're just making me think, and this is what you do.
Mhm.
This is
Yes.
why you do what you do. Um, so I wasn't super close with my dad. He suddenly passed when I was 21.
Yes.
He loved the water. That was his thing.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize till after he passed that that's also my thing. So
Yeah.
maybe in a small way, that's my way of reconnecting with him. Just, kayaking and just being on the water. I'm not going to say that would be the only reason, but maybe that's part of the reason.
Absolutely. You're getting that connectedness with him.
Mm.
And
And by the way, I just want to add, don't mean to cut you off.
no.
The times that I did spend with him, a lot of time was on the water. He had a boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that is. And that's a positive, one where, it didn't hurt you.
Right.
To be
Except for minor skin cancer because I was
Well,
always in the sun.
It's a little much then, a little preoccupation, but you're taking care of that. So you're good, right?
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, after he passed, and actually he passed long ago, but it was only in the last 3 or so years, just looking over paperwork, I found out when he was 41, he was diagnosed with minor skin cancer.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and my mom had it too. So there you go. But interesting. This is all like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we learn ourselves, by looking at these. There are also, just to go through if it's all right.
Sure.
One is like immature defense mechanisms, like fantasy, of getting involved in fantasies in our minds, which take time out from our focus on reality and maybe fulfilling ourselves in our, in reality. Avoidance, addictions, immature defense is just numbing yourself out, not dealing with problems. Like you maybe have an unhappy marriage, but you drink every night and then you just go to bed and you don't ever talk about it or go to marital therapy or work on the relationship. You just kind of numb yourself out. Or sometimes people act out. That's another immature defense, in some fashion, that they escapism or just acting out and doing things that don't bring a good result. So that's one to cover and to try to, like in the whole fulfilled person chapter 8, that's the big thing is to try to identify where do you get mentally preoccupied. And that it takes away from you having time to actually care for yourself, love yourself, meet your needs and your rights, like your mind, body, spirit care, or your physical, social, will, spiritual, emotional. So, all the things that you should be spending time to take care of yourself. And you have a right to take care of needs. Sometimes you get engrossed in a certain mental preoccupation or codependency, trying to take care of everybody else, and you don't take care of you. Those are all things you want to look at as when you're making changes. This is part of your awareness process. Intellectualization would be avoiding your feelings through overthinking or analyzing, like really not taking time, kind of being too compulsive. I mean, some taking care of stuff is important, but it can be a preoccupation, where it interferes with you feeling your feelings, and your feelings are to lead you like, hey, I want to get to this destination, or I'm feeling this need. And if you don't pay attention to them.
How do you, on that point, quite a few people I know, I would put them in, and they would admit it, in the overthinking category.
Yes.
How do you not so much overthink?
Right. Well, you work on being aware of what your feelings are. You can go to therapy, of course, because if you're in therapy, your therapist's there to ask you how you're feeling. What are your feelings about this? You have someone who's have a sounding board that can help you. In my book as well, in the older book, chapter 1, I think it's on page 22. Actually, it's in Feel Your Feelings, the second chapter, where it has a whole feeling chart list, and you can look at it and you can just, in fact, let's see if I can kind of hold it. I think I held it up the other day for you, but I can hold it up here real quick just to see. And it kind of has all your feelings on it and broken down. It's got the love on one side, the happy, comfortable feelings, which we should stay in all the time. Then on the right, of the other side, it's got the anger tip of the iceberg that tells you there's something bothering you, like hunger tells you, well, I'm hungry, I need to nourish myself physically. Anger of some form tells you, oh, something's not right. Then you want to go below the anger and not stay there and ask yourself, well, what's below the anger? Am I feeling sad about something, disappointed, grieving, or am I feeling anxious about something, feeling inadequate or overwhelmed, or, and then you get to the feelings. And then you can take those feelings, the feelings that don't feel good. And then you're trying to figure out, well, what will bring me into love and happiness? That's my destination. I want to be aware of what I'm feeling. And then figure out like, well, what if I think about this, that solution, what do I feel relief when I get that image, that idea? Because when you feel sort of relaxed, relieved state, then you are able to, act on it and, pat yourself on the back and move yourself into the happiness, into the love feelings that you're really wanting to stay at all the time.
Wow. I personally, and I would imagine I'm echoing others, learning a lot today. Like as soon as we're done, the denial acronym, I will be sharing that. I never heard that. One of my favorite acronyms in the self-improvement arena, fear, false evidence appearing real.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good one, but denial, that's a good one too.
Yes.
Wow. Good stuff. The book, Love Yourself, Love Your Life. It's all there. It's not just a book. This is a manual to change your life. And
thank you.
That's one of a couple of books that you have under your pen name, A.P. Filosa.
Correct.
And how do we find Ann Creekmore?
Yes. The easiest way, I think, is just to go to Psychology Today, which is a directory of psychologists, and just put my name in, Ann Creekmore, like it's spelled with the A at the end of Ann. And then under it, it's got my picture, but it's just basically got a link. And just click the link. It'll take you right into my website for my therapy practice, my whole person model therapy practice. And it'll have my, emails and the book and phone number and so on. You can find me easily.
Thank you so much for being here today, Ann.
Well, thank you so much, Steve.
Appreciate it.
You.
Yep. We'll be right back. Hang on.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ann Creekmore. I want you to know that you have the power to shine your light and be a magnificent, authentic person that you are in your mind, body, and spirit, and to have a wonderful, fulfilled life. I have written several books, but the one I'm sharing about is Love Yourself, Love Your Life. I want you to have that book so you can start healing the emotional wounds of the past and release any negative subconscious beliefs that are holding you back so you can become the whole, fulfilled, happy person you're meant to be. Please feel free to contact me. You can find me on Psychology Today, which links into my website. Thank you. Blessings and love.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.